Forget what you learned at school about cover letters. We're starting from scratch. Hi, Karin here, and today I'm telling you what you need to put in your cover letter to stand out. If you're a beginner in the business world, I've been there, and I'd like to reassure you that cover letters aren't useful all the time. In fact, the importance of the cover letter varies depending on the country where you're at. For example, in the United States, they give more importance to the resume or your LinkedIn profile. Meanwhile, in Japan, the cover letter has to be very formal and follow a certain format. And in France, the cover letter is often considered one of the most important elements of the application. But in reality, it will vary according to the company concerned and the position you're aiming for. To be completely honest, for one of my first student jobs, I went to dine at one of my favorite restaurants with some friends. And as I was ordering, I asked if they were recruiting. They told me to bring my resume just in case, and I brought it back not even 2 hours later, freshly printed. And they didn't even read it. All I got was a call the next day asking me when I could start. I had no experience in the restaurant business, but my motivation and the title on my resume, which was a humorous little catchphrase, were enough for them. By the way, it happened in France. I don't know if it will be the same experience in another country. So yes, to reassure you, some companies don't even read your cover letter or your resume. If you can't show up in person, it's still best to demonstrate your motivation in what is intended for, a cover letter, because it's often the first contact the recruiter has with you, and it's the one that's going to tip the scales in favor of an interview, where they'll be able to discover your commitment in depth. On the other hand, you need to keep in mind that this letter allows you to show to the recruiter that you've taken the time to find out about the company and the job, and therefore understand the company's values, culture, and missions, as well as the skills and qualifications required for the position. For example, if the company is a dynamic startup composed mostly of young people, and the company is friendly on all its social networks, and you start your letter with "Dear sirs, we learn at school," and use formal manners throughout, you're out of the game. On the other hand, many companies prefer you to be as formal as possible, so inform yourself well in advance. It can make all the difference. So as you can see, for your cover letter to be a success, it has to be clear, relevant, and customized. If you use internet templates, remember to add your own touch and change the sentences. Also, if you manage to find it, address the letter to the name of the recruiter, or at least the person who's gonna read it first. And even if the cover letter varies according to the company, the country, and the position, I strongly advise you to respect the basic structure of a cover letter. You'll have the header, which generally includes your contact details and those of the recipient. I advise you to include them even if you're sending it digitally. Next, you have the letter's subject line. So this is where you say what you're writing about. Next, the body of the letter, which is the main part where you explain your motivation for being hired. Lastly, you include a small greeting that varies between best and yours faithfully, depending on the company's culture. And then your signature. As I explained, you'll need to adapt the tone and writing style to suit the company and the industry. Each industry has its own specific standards, so I'll leave that to you to find out. But for example, banks are renowned for demanding an extreme level of formality and respect. In any case, by adapting your style, you demonstrate your understanding of the industry and your ability to integrate quickly. Your cover letter should be easy to read, with short sentences and a neat layout. In it, you should reflect your motivation and skills, adapting them to the expectations of the company and the position you're applying for. Basically, if the recruitment ad specifies particular skills or qualities that you match, you should highlight them in your cover letter. And in any case, only highlight skills that are relevant to your position. So avoid talking about your carpentry degree when you're applying for a job in customer support. At the very most, you can put it briefly into your resume, but no more than that if it has no connection with the company and the position you're applying for. When writing your cover letter, you should use positive and correct language. Positive language in your cover letter conveys a favorable image of you as a candidate, so avoid negative and defeatist catchphrases that might give the impression that you're lacking self-confidence. This is the time to sell the best version of yourself, so prefer optimistic wording and emphasize your strength. Also, remember to avoid predictable cliches that lack originality, which is what cover letter templates are full of. They give the impression that you're using a generic speech glitch, or that you've had the letter written by ChatGPT. Spoiler alert, recruiters can spot when you're using ChatGPT. In short, avoid empty, ready-made phrases. And above all, remember to be authentic. You need to express yourself sincerely and highlight your own unique experiences and qualities. And there you have it. And if you still want some cover letter templates, I leave you a link in the description. If you like the video, consider subscribing. It's always a pleasure. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm waiting for you in the comment section below. See you soon for more videos.